Hello everybody, how you doing? We are at Union Square in New York City. If you've never been here, this is the home of rallies, the home of people playing chess, the home of people selling anything they can just to make a buck. There's a blind guy around me, so I gotta move away. That's very weird. Let's see. Blind person taking a picture. Strange. Not gonna act like that's not strange. That is strange. Is a good vibe out here. Good time. It's a little brick out, which is why I have my sweater on and my jacket on top of that. We're gonna take a little walk. We're gonna go from here over to Washington Square Park and then over to the Grizzly Pear because I have to do an open mic. So let's have some fun. Oh man. You know, it's so funny. Union Square, I've spent so much of my time here and everything. But one thing I have to ask is, where's all the weed? Where's the weed at? Because I'm not gonna lie, I've went to too many fucking rallies promoting the legalization of weed for them not to be selling weed right fucking there. It's ridiculous. I remember the other day, the other day, comedian's version of the other day, a week or two ago, a year or two ago, 5 or 6 years ago, I actually went to a legalized weed rally there, and it was a good time. It was the first time, this is way before weed was legalized in New York City, and it was kind of crazy because people were, of course, preaching for the legalization, all that type of shit, but then people were just smoking out in the open. And if you know about New York back then, you couldn't just do that. You couldn't just do, weed out in the open. You couldn't just smoke. You couldn't do any of that shit. So it was really interesting to see so many people at one time just saying, fuck it. People were giving out free joints. And I even remember, which is crazier, is this dude, he was giving out free joints. People were smoking together. And he's passing it around and shit. And then the dude before me gets past the joint and he passes it to me. And the amount of fucking plaque in this man's mouth is disgusting. Disgusting. Like, I've never seen it before in my life. Like, it was like solid. It wasn't like he had like yellow teeth or anything like that. He did have yellow teeth as well, but the plaque was solid. It was like yellow Play-Doh in between his two front teeth. And he had the most cracked fucking lips I've ever seen. Like cracked, not like, oh, this guy needs some chapstick, or maybe even to just nibble on his lip or something, or drink more water. Like cracked, like they were diseased. And he's just fucking hitting the joint, and he passes it to me. And I think that was the first time in Phil Risdon history where I declined free weed. It was a growing moment for me, I will say that. That was a moment of growth, a moment of clarity, and just interesting. I had never ever turned down weed in my entire fucking life, and because of this man and his incredible ailments, I had to just pull back. I had to just pull back and be like, hey, I'm giving this one up. And I was broke too. Oh my God, I was broke. So, this type of shit, it just like, trust me, I did not want to give up that weed, but that was the first time where I was like, my health and well-being is more important than getting high. And I think that's something that stuck with me my whole life, I'm trying not to get killed here while doing this selfie video. So many fucking things going on in this city. It's actually a little bit slower around here than it usually is, which is kind of a little nuts. This area especially, it is around, I want to say, like 4 p.m. So just before rush hour. Not everybody's out of their shit or anything. Not everybody's out of work, but at the same time, New York is just usually packed. And I feel like, honestly, even though it's been years, it's fucking COVID, man. Like, COVID really changed the dynamic of this entire city. Like, the COVID literally, like, before COVID, it used to just be packed all the time, every day, weekdays till 5 a.m. People are blaring music. You can eat anywhere you want, no matter how late it is. And then COVID happened, and I think a lot of things that transplants wanted to change in the city kind of started to occur. A lot of gentrification, as we know, had been happening before COVID. And with gentrification, you have people from the Midwest, people from other places that aren't used to this kind of East Coast living, the city that never sleeps. they want that because they want to say, oh, I live in New York City, but they don't actually want any of the shit that comes with it. You know, they want the fucking, Sex and the City, Erica and Samantha. I think those are the names. I've never seen them. I've never seen the show, but they want the martinis. They want all the bullshit. They don't want the dude yelling at 4 a.m, while he's grilling and cooking chicken wings for all his Jamaican and Dominican friends. Right? They want a sterilized version of New York, and that's not something you're just gonna get, But because of COVID, that forced the sterilization. That forced people to not be able to come out. And then now, prices have been rising so high, that so many people had to leave. A lot of normal, regular, working class people had to go down south, for survival for their jobs, and then also too, just because they couldn't simply afford living in New York anymore. And it's a shame. So I feel like the city has really taken a hit, even if it kind of acts like it hasn't. It's a little bit, I don't know. It's just not the fucking same. There's good things about it, but then there's also just like, I like the peace. I'm not gonna lie. There's some times where New York can just be a little bit too much, even for somebody who loves New York. It can still be too fucking much. But even so, like I don't know. I miss some of that shit. Also, too, one thing you'll notice about New York City in these last 3 to 4 years is there's a lot more mentally ill people. A lot more, like way more. And they were always there. But a lot of these people were in hospitals. They were in different sorts of shit, you know what I mean? Being taken care of by family and blah, blah, blah. And then I feel like once everybody started getting sick, it was kind of the government's excuse, and maybe even some of these people's families' excuse, to put them on the street by being like, well, we don't want to spread anything, so we're not going to deal with you. It's kind of a shame, man. How things go. Sorry if shit got a little wobbly there. My gimbal's been acting kind of strange, and I actually had to redo this video about 5 or 6 times. But I'm here for you guys. That's the whole point, I'm trying to create all this stuff. It's a bitch to have to do it all the fucking time, especially when you don't have much money, you don't have much production value. So a lot of your stuff is secondhand and all that, but I'm trying to get the message out. I'm trying to get good vibes out. And I feel like a lot of people have been receiving this fairly well. So I'm going to be doing a lot more walking tour type stuff. I'm going to be doing a lot more kind of podcast, man on the street interview type stuff, and see how a lot of you guys like it. Because it's a fun thing. I mean, a lot of us nowadays are so locked in the house and we're not doing anything. So I think you can see other people and kind of live vicariously through them. And there you go. I'm lazy too, but at the same time I get antsy and over anxious. So I'm a constant walker. Right now I'm living in Jersey. And even in Jersey, it doesn't matter. I will fucking walk anywhere. My family thinks I'm crazy. There'll be some place that's like a 30-minute fucking, 30-minute drive or something. And I'll be honest with you, I might take the train for 2 stops and then walk the second amount. Like I'm like that. Because I don't know, in this city, it kind of builds that into you, just walking everywhere. If it's anything under 30 minutes, you will walk. That's what New York does to you. Because there's so much bullshit you got to deal with. There's so many other people you got to see. So to kind of be locked in your own solitary zone is a little bit of a sort of an internal paradise, And you start to almost get addicted to it. It's like therapy for me. Yeah. There's some birds out here. It's bright as fuck. I'm gonna get to the other side of the street. I've been in Washington Square Park in quite a bit. And what's interesting about this walk is I'm a bit of a fast walker. And I feel like New Yorkers, they always pride themselves on knowing how long it takes them to walk from one place to another, kind of judging it for yourself. Like, I've always thought, like, oh, I can walk to Union Square from, to Washington Square from Union Square in under 10 minutes. And you know what? I was slightly wrong. But, hey, I'm at 11 minutes right now. And, if I didn't have to do this introduction with you guys, if I didn't have to fucking deal with all this extra bullshit, maybe I would have been here at 9. And yes, that is me not taking responsibility for myself as a grown man. But like I said, as an American, that is something that we all learn how to do. And yes, you should do that. It's a good time. I'm slowly plugging things, telling people to view my YouTube channel. And I'm having fun, baby. You know? Nothing like content creation and also getting some exercise. You know? Now we finally made it to Washington Square Park. It's so funny. Before I started doing this, I didn't realize how many places I didn't actually know the name of, you know? Like Union Square, just the place that I buy weed at. Washington Square, the place that I buy weed at with the arch, you know. McDougal Street, the place I buy weed at, that I can do comedy at, you know. Basically, every place, every monument that I know in this city is based on what weed I can buy and how much of a good time I can have while I am there. This place is beautiful, man. Look at this. So much great shit. Amazing people. You know, people always talk about how expensive New York is, and it is. It's incredibly expensive. I mean, you go outside and you're almost guaranteed to spend about 20 fucking bucks just by existing. There are still beautiful little nooks and crannies in New York where you can find a good time for absolutely nothing. Look at that. We got a jazz band performing here live for free $99. That's right, free $99. We got the beautiful sun, keeping it warm. It's 40 degrees out here, but nobody gives a shit. Nobody cares because the sun's baking down on you. Everybody's here to have a good time. You know, you got the little fountain. It looks beautiful. We're gonna keep walking. You got some people selling some art over there, doing their little thing. I don't see too many skateboarders out right now, but usually there's a little bit of a skateboard show. It's just different people hanging out, doing different things, you know, doing all sorts of tricks. I'm a big skateboarding fan. I'm one of those kids who always watched it and never really did it. You know, when I was a kid, I used to, and then I fell and I hated pain, so I stopped. But my love for the sport has never stopped, and I've always definitely stopped by here countless times to see people fucking tear up some new tricks and fucking bust their ass. And it is a great time. You know, I'm gonna sit here right in front of the fountain. I'm getting right here in the splash zone for you people. Look at that. Look at that. I can literally feel this shit on my back. I don't want to stay here. It's like 40 degrees. But no, as you can see, there's just tons of shit going on. There's a guy behind me who is selling poems. You know, there's always lots and lots of creative people doing really creative things out here. And that's what I love about New York City. I think specifically over a lot of different cities is like, this city is a place made full of hustlers. You know, people are always trying to make a buck somehow, and it's usually based on their passion or based on their connections. And it's this kind of beautiful thing, this kind of beautiful duality between like the hyper rich, people have been given all their riches, been given all this luxury, and people who just get it from the fucking mud. Even if you were born middle class, you know, you might have moved out here and didn't want to ask your parents for money, and so now you just found, you know, a nice little place where you can buy some clothes wholesale, and now you're reselling them or something, or you end up meeting a friend who is a musician, and you know a bunch of people at venues, so now you offer to be his booking manager. There's always something like that. That's always what New York is about. And it's just about finding the thing that you are good at and monetizing it. Honestly, dare I say it, New York was the first YouTube, you know? New York was the first YouTube. It was about monetizing the gifts that you have as a person, and it creates this sort of kind of magic. You know, look at people having fun out here. Half of these people don't have any fucking money, which is why they're at the goddamn park, you know? But you go to a park in fucking Idaho, and what is there, a goddamn slide? You got here, there's a guy fucking selling weed, there's a fucking jazz band back here, you know, there's another jazz band over there, there's people skateboarding, there's people making deals and talking. I mean, it's a beautiful place. It's a beautiful place, man. You know, I always think about, you know, how intense and overwhelming it was to first come here when I was a kid, and how scary it was. You know, I moved out to New York when I was just 18 years old. You know, I was just a young lad, just a little bear cub out here, man. I was so fucking young and scared, but I felt like I was standing still back home. And I think that's something that a lot of young kids and, you know, even older adults who might not be doing what they want to do in their life might be feeling and might be experiencing, you know. I felt stagnant. I almost felt kind of paralyzed, you know, like I graduated high school. I was never really a good student, and I didn't really care about school like that, you know, but at the same time, I wanted to do things. I just didn't know what I necessarily wanted to do with my life. Actually, that's not true. I knew I wanted to do comedy. I knew I wanted to do, you know, basically content, film, and all that stuff, but I was too nervous at that age to really embrace it. This thing keeps on failing. It looks like my gimbal is gonna die in a little bit, so I gotta wrap this video up. But yeah, I felt like I was, you know, I wanted to do film, I wanted to do comedy, I wanted to do all that stuff. But, you know, I always felt a little bit self-conscious about it, and I would tell people these are my dreams, but to actually take steps forward to do it was utterly terrifying, you know, completely and utterly terrifying. But I think it just took kind of the catalyst of graduating high school, everybody leaving and doing what they wanted to do, that made me want to step up and figure out what I wanted to do and how to implement that in my life, you know. And from then on, that's all it was. I bought a ticket, $10. I'm from New Jersey. It's not that bad. $10, you know. I came in, looked at a couple different apartments, found this really, really nice Iraqi couple. Actually, the wife was from Iraq, and the husband was a photojournalist. They were really cool, and they were kind of really supportive of what I wanted to do, which is what you need as a kid, because I could barely fucking pay my rent. Eventually, I did have to leave. They were like, "We're not your parents," but understandable. But this place was so, you know, so intense to move to, especially if you're not like at fucking NYU or some shit, you know what I mean? With a bunch of fucking other young kids. I came here just working, you know, and I went to community college and all that type of stuff, but it wasn't really the college experience, and I didn't really have anybody to relate to. I started doing stand-up comedy when I was 18 years old as well, so I just started hanging out with like 35-year-olds, you know, and it was a great time. I wouldn't change it for the world, but it was also just something that was a little jarring, you know. And it's funny, when I first came here, New York was so fast-paced and so intense that I had to go home like every freaking weekend, which I think is something that the average, you know, college kid has to deal with on their own as well. I got plenty of my friends who've had to come home from, you know, Rowan or Rutgers every weekend, but after a while you start getting so sucked into the lifestyle here, I think, that you stop coming home, and you stop, I don't know, having enough time. I mean, you get so preoccupied with all the parties, you know, and not even just that, just all the different types of people that you can meet that you might not have met when you first moved, you know, from your hometown. I mean, you know, most hometowns, no matter what state they're in, it's all the same shit. People you played football with, people you were on the wrestling team with, and this and the third. They know a different part of you that other people will never know. But life isn't about the beginning stage. Life is about actually the middle stage. People want to act like it's about the end and it's about the beginning, but it's not. It's about the middle, because the middle is always shifting. The middle is the pursuit of the end, you know, and where you want to be once things finally stop, you know. And New York is definitely a place that helped me, you know, craft my middle. All right, guys. Well, I'm at the Grizzly Pear right now. It's about 4:30, almost 5 o'clock, so I'm gonna get in there, sign up for the open mic, you know, and do some stand-up. I'll see you guys later. Please make sure to like, share, subscribe. Peace.